presents the Global Entertainment Spectacular, WrestleMania.
Hello, WWE wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of WWE WrestleMania Top 10. I'm your host, WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale, and I welcome you to the next episode of WrestleMania Top 10. Did you guys know that WrestleMania is only 2 weeks away? That's right, WrestleMania 38 broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium, Saturday, April 2nd and Sunday, April 3rd is only 14 days away. I am really looking forward to this year's WrestleMania. But as the clock ticks down on the countdown to WrestleMania, I figured today I would count down 10 great WrestleMania things. And today on WWE WrestleMania Top 10, I'm going to count down the 10 greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. But I have a treat for you. It's actually going to be 15 great matches in WrestleMania history because I'm going to throw in 5 honorable matches. So, what matches will I be counting down? Make sure you watch the entire video to find out. I'm going to talk about why the match I picked is a great WrestleMania match and all those juicy details. So if you're tuning in now, make sure to smash that like button and let me know in the comments what your favorite WrestleMania matches of all time are. So there's been 37 previous WrestleManias. Of those 37 WrestleManias, what are your favorite WrestleMania matches of all time? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing your favorite WrestleMania matchups of all time. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the matches are in no particular order. They are just some of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history and some of my personal favorite. So, coming in at number 10, a match that I never thought I would see happen, especially at WrestleMania, because I thought that this particular legend and this particular superstar would never wrestle for the WWE. But boy, was I wrong, and I was glad to be wrong. Although a lot of fans, myself included, feel that he was mistreated by the WWE, suffering a loss in his first and only WrestleMania, getting injured against Seth Rollins, and then ultimately being released by the WWE, he deserved a hell of a lot better. But I was just glad to see him have a WrestleMania match. So the 10th greatest match is from WrestleMania 31, and it is the icon, the vigilante Sting versus the Game, the cerebral assassin, Triple H. Sting versus Triple H from WrestleMania 31. A lot of fans remember this match as a good match. There are some fans that think of this match as mediocre at best. But we have to remember that Sting was in his 50s during this match. But nonetheless, Sting did deliver a quality match. Now, considering his age, I thought Sting's performance was awesome. We saw him do multiple Stinger splashes. We saw him do high-risk maneuvers outside the ring, off the top rope, which is great for someone his age. He did a Scorpion Deathlock, things like that. The story of this match was Sting coming to the WWE to stop Triple H's power. And he did a good job in doing that. And also, it was about WCW versus WWE, although it was not really shown leading up to WrestleMania 31. It wasn't really about WCW versus WWE in the build up to WrestleMania 31. It was more about Sting trying to stop Triple H's authority. But when WrestleMania 31 happened, then the narrative became WCW versus WWE, the Monday Night Wars coming to life in California. DX came out to help Triple H, and then the NWO came out to help Sting. But a great point that was made in this match was by commentator JBL. Who is NWO coming out to help? Were they coming out to help Triple H or Sting? Because remember, for many years, NWO had issues with Sting in WCW. But ultimately, NWO was on Team WCW, and they helped fend off DX, and they were in Sting's favor. Ultimately, Triple H won with backhanded tactics and heel tactics, as he had to use the head of his sledgehammer to beat Sting. Triple H defeated Sting. Now, I agree with a lot of fans. Sting should have won his one and only WrestleMania match, but regardless of the outcome, it was a great WrestleMania match, and I personally enjoyed Sting and Triple H at WrestleMania 31. I thought it was a great match. Like I said, looking back, I agree Sting should have won, but Sting has gone on public record to say he had no problems losing to Triple H. He was just glad to be at WrestleMania. And if he's happy with it, then I could be happy with it as well. So Sting and Triple H, our first great WrestleMania match that we're going to talk about tonight. Coming in at number 9, a feud that has evolved into 3 different WrestleManias. These 2 WWE legends, and one's a Hall of Famer currently, and one's a surefire Hall of Famer, fought at 3 different WrestleManias. WrestleManias in the 90s, and then WrestleMania in the early 2000s. Of course, I'm talking about The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. My personal favorite Rock and Austin WrestleMania match is WrestleMania 19. So coming in at number 9 is The Rock versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 19. A really good matchup. So The Rock and Stone Cold tore the house down at WrestleMania 19. And what's interesting for WrestleMania 19 was that The Rock was actually the heel and Stone Cold was the baby face. It was the other way around a couple years ago, I believe. But it was a great match. So I could be wrong with what I just said about The Rock being a heel and Stone Cold being a baby face. I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched the Rock and Austin match, but I will say that Rock and Stone Cold have had great WrestleMania matchups. But I think The Rock and Austin put on a great show at WrestleMania 19. I like that The Rock used the Stone Cold Stunner at WrestleMania 19, and it took 3 rock bottoms for The Rock to defeat Stone Cold at WrestleMania 19. And ultimately, this went on to become Stone Cold's final match at WrestleMania. Stone Cold has never been in a physical match after WrestleMania 19. However, Stone Cold is going to be at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, Texas in 2 weeks for a confrontation with Kevin Owens. Will that lead to a match? Only time will tell for sure. All right, so we go from Sting versus Triple H and Rock versus Stone Cold, 4 Hall of Famers. Coming in at number 8, another classic WrestleMania match, and one that is great for various reasons. One of them being you got a showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, and you've got a Olympic gold medalist, another WWE Hall of Famer. Coming in at number 8 is Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. Shawn Michaels representing Monday Night Raw and Kurt Angle representing SmackDown, WrestleMania 21, 2005. I remember my childhood. WrestleMania 21 was one of my favorite WrestleManias of my early years in life. And this was one of the matches that I was most looking forward to as a young boy. Now, Shawn Michaels was without a doubt one of my all-time favorite superstars growing up as a kid. It was Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Sting. Michaels and Taker were with the WWE during this time, and Sting was in TNA, I believe. And I did not care to watch TNA. I was all about WWE, and I still am to this day. And I started watching WWE again in 2004. So there was a brief period where I stopped watching WWE, and then I came back in 2004 and I saw WrestleMania 20, and I was tuned. I was really interested into it, and I stayed watching wrestling. I stayed watching wrestling in WWE, and I'm still watching WWE to this day since 2004. Shawn Michaels, without a doubt, has to be the greatest WrestleMania performer in all time, in my opinion. Anyway, Michaels and Kurt Angle was a match that not only I was interested in seeing, but all my friends. They were fans of Kurt Angle. They were fans of Batista. WrestleMania 21 in general was a great WrestleMania. The match I was most interested in was Michaels and Angle. I wanted to see how WWE would book this. I wanted to see how a showstopper could compete with a Olympic gold medalist. Very good story heading into WrestleMania. The match itself at WrestleMania was a showstopper, and dare I say, show stealer. Michaels and Angle delivered. It was a 10-star match, and I really, really think it is a great WrestleMania match. And anyone that is new to WWE, I recommend them to watch Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. And there's a couple of other Michaels matches we're going to cover tonight that I would recommend to a new wrestling fan. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels put on a clinic. It looked like they had worked together before, but in reality, they never ever shared the ring before WrestleMania 21, and that was something that was special. So Michaels and Angle, a great WrestleMania matchup, and one that I think is awesome. Shout out to Verenia. My friend Verenia is in the house. Hey, Verenia, how you doing? Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and say hello. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. I appreciate the shout out. I love and miss you. Hope life is going well. So that was awesome. I did not expect that. That was amazing. All right. Coming in at number 7, a mixed tag team match from WrestleMania 34. And this match involves Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey. I never thought we would see Ronda Rousey in the WWE, but we did at WrestleMania 34, and she put on a clinic alongside WWE Hall of Famer and Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. And Triple H and Stephanie McMahon delivered a great matchup as well. So I like to say that Ronda Rousey had no better opponents than Triple H and Stephanie, because they showed her the ropes of being a WWE superstar, and they taught her how to perform at WrestleMania. And Ronda had no better teammate than the Olympic gold medalist and WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle. This match was great. It was way better than I ever expected it to be. Ronda Rousey had a great WrestleMania debut. It was high caliber, and I was excited to watch it. As a WWE fan, I was thrilled to see Rousey put on a clinic at WrestleMania 34 in her first match. Now, obviously, WrestleMania 35, she was in the main event, and that match wasn't as good as WrestleMania 34. But hey, for a first WrestleMania match, Ronda shined. So you got to say thank you to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon for making this a classic match. You got to say thank you to Ronda Rousey for putting in the hard work and the effort and showing the perseverance and the heart of a warrior. And you got to say thank you to Kurt Angle for teaching Ronda Rousey how to be a WWE superstar. A great, great matchup. Now, when we talk about great WrestleMania matchups, at WrestleMania, 4 superstars come to mind: Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and John Cena. All 4 of those superstars are going to be featured on today's episode of WWE WrestleMania Top 10. As a matter of fact, number 6 has 2 of those superstars in it from WrestleMania 27. The first matchup we're going to talk about of the 2 that they've had as a great WrestleMania match. Of course, I am talking about Triple H versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania 27. So the story behind this match was that Triple H was trying to get revenge for his best friend Shawn Michaels. The Undertaker, the year prior at WrestleMania 26, The Undertaker retired Shawn Michaels. So a year later, The Undertaker returned on an episode of Monday Night Raw. But to The Undertaker's surprise, Triple H also returned. And that set up this iconic bout at WrestleMania 27. The game Triple H and the surefire Hall of Famer, who is indeed being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, The Undertaker, put on a clinic at WrestleMania 27. There was a lot of offense, a lot of high, powerful moves, a lot of kickouts, and a lot of near falls. Even Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler were lost for words calling this match. Triple H hit a tombstone pile driver, but yet The Undertaker was still able to kick out and power out at that. Triple H put a beating so severe on The Undertaker, he could not stand. And after the match, he had to be wheeled out of the arena. That is how bad of a beating The Undertaker took. But in the end, The Undertaker was victorious. And this was probably the only WrestleMania where The Undertaker could not leave on his own feet. Triple H gave him a beating of his life, but it was The Undertaker's Hell's Gate that allowed him to win as Triple H passed out. A physical WrestleMania showdown, but one that will go down in the history books as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. I would say that this perhaps is my favorite Triple H and Undertaker matchup, but the next match we're going to talk about, the next matchup between these 2 superstars, might just top this one. But this one is a really decent match as well, and it was an awesome matchup between these 2 legends. All right, coming in at number 5, A matchup that involves the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and John Cena from WrestleMania 23. Now, rumors have been circulating for years that WrestleMania 23 was to be a rematch from the year prior. It was supposed to be John Cena and Triple H 2. But we all know that Triple H suffered a injury at New Year's Resolution 2007 when DX took on Rated RKO for the Raw or for the WWE Tag Team Championships. So we've got Crypt Keeper Aquatics in the house. Crypt says, "Hey Alex, can't stick around too long. At work all day today. Just wanted to say hello." Thank you, Crypt. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate that. I hope you have a fantastic day at work. Hopefully it goes by quick and you get to go home and relax. But I really appreciate you viewing and tuning in. That means a lot to me, and hopefully you like wrestling. But as I was saying, Triple H got injured in New Year's Resolutions 2007, and WWE had to come up with a backup plan. And they did the first ever matchup of Shawn Michaels and John Cena at WrestleMania 23, and it was for the WWE Championship. So this matchup at WrestleMania 23 was a show stealer, and it definitely was an incredible matchup. Shawn Michaels and John Cena proved they belonged in the main event of WrestleMania 23. Michaels with a lot of high-flying maneuvers, as always in a Shawn Michaels matchup. And then John Cena was able to counter Sweet Chin Music, hit a FU, a five-knuckle shuffle. Michaels was able to kick out of the FU, and Michaels was able to deliver some Sweet Chin Music. And out of anger, Michaels would super kick Michaels would super kick the referee, which was funny in my opinion. I always enjoy seeing a referee get knocked out when a superstar gets angry. But ultimately, it came down to John Cena's STFU that allowed John Cena to make Shawn Michaels tap out and retain the WWE Championship. You know, looking back at time, I know we can't change anything, but I think Shawn Michaels deserved one championship win at WrestleMania before he retired the next three WrestleManias. Michaels retired at WrestleMania 26. So I think Michaels should have won at WrestleMania 23, and he would have had at least one more WWE Championship run before he retired. But he's such a legendary superstar that really losing at WrestleMania does not affect him. It makes the other superstar shine, which is why Michaels is one of the greatest WrestleMania performers out there. All right. So we've talked about our top 5 WrestleMania matches to go. We've got 5 more to go, plus our honorable mentions. Now, number 4, it's going to be a controversial pick for me. I think a lot of WWE fans are going to disagree with me on this match, but I think it was a decent match by the greatest performer of all time in WrestleMania history, and perhaps the greatest wrestler of all time, The Undertaker. Considering The Undertaker's age at WrestleMania 32, 2016, I thought it was a great match. And also, it was a Hell in a Cell match, which is one of the most taxing matches to be in. So I think Undertaker put on a damn show for his age. And I'm talking about The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. And this, ironically, was the last time WWE and WrestleMania was held at AT&T Stadium. Obviously, WrestleMania is coming back to AT&T Stadium this year. But at WrestleMania 32, The Undertaker and Shane McMahon had a great match. Shane McMahon had just returned to the WWE in 2016. He interrupted a McMahon Appreciation Night. and an award was to be given to Stephanie McMahon by Vince McMahon. Shane McMahon returned and threw a bombshell and said he wanted control of Monday Night Raw. This led to Vince McMahon announcing that at WrestleMania 32, Shane McMahon must compete and he must win at WrestleMania to get control of Raw. Ultimately, it was announced that McMahon would face The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32, and in the end, it was a onslaught of a match at WrestleMania. Shane McMahon and The Undertaker put on a clinic. We saw Shane hit coast to coast with a trash can on The Undertaker. They fought outside, and we can't forget that iconic jump from the top of the Hell in a Cell all the way through the table with Undertaker moving out of the way. That is what did Shane McMahon in, and it led The Undertaker to getting a victory at WrestleMania 32. And thus Shane McMahon would not get control of Monday Night Raw. And a stipulation that was not revealed until about 2 weeks before WrestleMania was that if Shane McMahon defeated The Undertaker, we would never see The Undertaker at WrestleMania ever again. But as we all know, The Undertaker won, and The Undertaker reserved his right to be at WrestleMania. All right, so we've already talked about our top 6 WrestleMania matches of all time. Now we're going to get into our honorable mentions, and then we will close out the show with the top 3 greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, which again are just my personal opinions. Like all the matches on today's show, they're just my personal opinions. So here are the honorable mentions for great WrestleMania matchups. Now, the first honorable mention is a match that has negative fan reactions. This was voted as one of the worst WrestleMania main events by my fellow wrestling fans. However, I do not share the same sentiments. I think this was a great WrestleMania matchup because of the story that was being told. It was a personal rivalry between Randy Orton and Triple H. Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 25 was one of those feuds where you wanted to kick the bad guy right in the nuts and punch him in the face. Because Orton had done some devious things to Triple H's family, including punting Mr. McMahon in the head, injuring Mr. McMahon's son, Shane McMahon, DDTing Triple H's wife, Stephanie, and planting a kiss on her cheek. And he even injured Triple H prior to this match. So I think this was one of the greatest personal matchups in WrestleMania history. And Orton and the Game did a great job as a heel and a face promoting this matchup. And it was great seeing Triple H dominate Orton at WrestleMania 25. So that is one of our honorable mentions. Next up, we've got Shawn Michaels and Mr. McMahon, WrestleMania 22. A match that, for whatever reason, again, most fans did not like, but I enjoyed it. Mr. McMahon had to be at least 65 in this match, and he looked amazing. He was in shape. Most people at 65 can hardly move, but McMahon was moving like a 50-year-old or a 45-year-old. So he looked great. Michaels and McMahon delivered a high-quality match, and it was filled with a lot of extreme spots, including Shane McMahon kissing Mr. McMahon's ass, which was hilarious. Michaels jumping off the top of a 20-foot ladder onto a table, and Michaels beating McMahon with a super kick. Great match. The next honorable mention, Undertaker versus CM Punk, WrestleMania 29. I'm not a big fan of CM Punk. I think he's a whiny little baby and a quitter. but you can't deny the year that he had in 2013. He was the longest reigning WWE champion. And then after his championship reign ended, he had a feud with The Undertaker. And The Undertaker and CM Punk had a great match at WrestleMania 29. WrestleMania 33, Triple H versus Seth Rollins, and what really was the start of a great babyface run for Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins defeated his mentor at WrestleMania 33 in a decisive fashion, using the pedigree to defeat Triple H. A great matchup at WrestleMania 33. And lastly, also from WrestleMania 29, Triple H versus Brock Lesnar. The Game and Lesnar tore the house down at WrestleMania 29, another personal rivalry, which saw Triple H use a sledgehammer and a pedigree on top of steel steps to get the victory. Great, great matchup, in my personal opinion. All right, we've got 3 final matches to talk about. 3 amazing WrestleMania matches in their own right. So, as the young people say, let's get it. Coming in at number 3, Triple H versus The Undertaker, end of an era, WrestleMania 28. I remember this match like it happened yesterday. You know, this was the last year that my Italian grandmother, Nanny Lucy, was alive because she unfortunately had cancer. And she died a couple months after WrestleMania 28. And she was watching the Raw before WrestleMania, and she saw The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and she had watched wrestling years prior. The last time she was watching wrestling was when Michaels and Taker had the very first Hell in a Cell. And she was like, oh, they're going to have another Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. I remember the earlier WrestleManias, and she was intrigued. So she watched this, and she liked this match as well. She thought it was a great storytelling feud and a great matchup. And she liked it because it reminded her of the 90s. And that's what this match was all about. It really was an end of an era because we're never going to see a match with 3 superstars who really built the WWE up. They built the WWE up through the Attitude Era, through the Monday Night Wars, and even into the 2010s. They did a great job building the WWE up. So Triple H and The Undertaker ending their rivalry at WrestleMania inside Hell in a Cell was the perfect finish to this rivalry. Shawn Michaels, the guest referee here, because he had 2 previous matches with The Undertaker. He had his career ended by The Undertaker, and then he watched his best friend Triple H lose at WrestleMania 27 to come back for WrestleMania 28, where he could play the pivotal role in who wins at WrestleMania 28. That was the greatest way to book this match, by having Michaels as the referee. A lot of fans thought that Michaels was going to turn heel and screw Triple H over. A lot of fans thought he was going to cost The Undertaker and have Triple H break The Undertaker's streak. But the way it went down was awesome. Michaels called it right down the middle. He got emotional. He tried to stop Taker from injuring Triple H. He tried to stop Triple H from injuring Taker. But in the end, Taker got the victory, and all 3 superstars embraced. A hard-fought match and a great WrestleMania match, one for the decades that everybody is going to remember, especially people my age. All right, coming in at number 2, a match for the hardcore lovers, the ECW lovers. This match is from WrestleMania 22, and it is the Rated R superstar and WWE Hall of Famer Edge versus the hardcore legend and WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley. And remember, Mick Foley was a special guest on my 8-year YouTube anniversary. That's right, Mick Foley was a guest on my 8-year YouTube anniversary. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But anyway, Edge and Foley at WrestleMania 22 was a great match. So let's talk about it now. Edge and Foley, WrestleMania 22. A hardcore matchup for the ages. Edge and Foley tore the house down in a hardcore match, which saw Edge use a baseball bat and Mick Foley use a barbed wire baseball bat, and Edge speared Foley through a burning table. That alone was a hardcore moment, and it was an incredible matchup and an incredible moment. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. But Edge and Foley had a great hardcore matchup at WrestleMania 22. The use of dangerous weapons, the spear through a burning table, and all that great stuff made it one of the greatest hardcore matchups in WrestleMania history. And that is why I like Edge and Foley at WrestleMania 22. All right. The last match we're going to talk about tonight, coming in at number one, arguably in my mind, the greatest WrestleMania match in modern history. And I think a lot of WWE fans are going to agree with me that this is a great WrestleMania match. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. You're not going to find a match better than this, my folks. So Undertaker and Shawn Michaels put on a clinic at WrestleMania 25. The Undertaker and Michaels are two of the greatest legends in the WWE. Michaels is already a Hall of Famer, and The Undertaker is going to be a Hall of Famer this year in a matter of 2 weeks. So Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker meeting on the grandest stage of them all to celebrate the 25th anniversary is a no-brainer. They delivered a high-quality matchup and one that was for the ages. Undertaker kicking out of Sweet Chin Music. Michaels kicking out of a couple of tombstone pile drivers. Ultimately, Michaels lost on a mistake on his part. He went for a flying moonsault. Taker caught him, hit the tombstone, and got the 1, 2, 3 to keep his undefeated streak intact. The Undertaker, without a doubt, got the victory, but Michaels proved he was Mr. WrestleMania, and this, without a doubt, was the greatest WrestleMania match to date. We'll have to see if Undertaker will ever have another WrestleMania match, but I think this was his greatest WrestleMania match, and I really, really enjoyed it. And as a WWE wrestling fan, I thank Shawn Michaels and I thank The Undertaker for delivering a quality matchup at WrestleMania 25. All right, WWE fans, what did you think of today's episode? I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time talking about the greatest WrestleMania matchups of all time. I really did have a blast. WrestleMania 38 emanates live from AT&T Stadium, Dallas, Texas, 2 Saturdays from now, Saturday, April 2nd and Sunday, April 3rd. Don't miss WrestleMania 38 in 2 weeks. Tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, Sunday, March 20th. I'm going to talk about my WrestleMania 38 Dream Match card. I'm gonna talk about dream matches that I would do if I was booking WrestleMania. It could include past and present superstars. So WWE fans, tune into that tomorrow night right here on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. And don't miss the WrestleMania 38 pre-shows. WrestleMania Saturday pre-show will be Saturday, April 2nd, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. The WrestleMania Sunday pre-show will be Sunday, April 3rd, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And Monday, April 4th, I'll have the WrestleMania 38 recap at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. All right, WWE fans, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of WWE WrestleMania Top 10 and today's episode of Pro Wrestling 101. I greatly appreciate your view, and I look forward to hosting more WrestleMania broadcasting tomorrow and my wrestling show and post show. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale, for more wrestling content. WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your weekend.
Saturday, April 16, 2022, the Easter Bunny Alex Cardinale gets released. Come celebrate Easter 2022 with Easter Bunny Alex. The Easter Bunny is going to host the very first Easter 2022 bash. What will Chef Alex cook and bake? Will Aqua Alex make an appearance? What will the Easter Bunny have in store? Find out on Saturday, April 16, 2022 at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on the legendary Alex Cardinale YouTube channel. Happy Easter! Go get your chocolate Easter bunnies and candy now before it's too late.